So I've said this a few times. It's not to be provocative or anything, right? But in the absence of number go up, we'd all just be talking about how wonderful this stable coin we have is. And that's just not as exciting in reality. And I look at people also who talk about, oh, I'm not selling. And I understand like the inclination to not want to sell. And they might think of, I'll borrow against it in the future, much like I can borrow against a house. But I suspect that those kind of solutions might take some time. Like, I think it could take a decade before those are sort of attractive enough for someone like me to be wanting to do that. I don't know, maybe 5 years. I don't know. Is there any sense over the next couple years, let's say in this next cycle, of taking some chips off the table and living life a bit, like, and not just being sort of a rabid accumulator and saying, maybe I'll do something. Like, I know what one will look back in time and go inevitably, oh, there's balloons coming up. But
I just did that to put my hand up, but it was, yeah.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. So okay, I'm on the fence.
I'm going to make 2 points really quickly. So when I first started, thank you to hats, I'd always thought I'm going to get to a certain point in my stack and I will, if it goes, to the moon or whatever, I will pay off my mortgage. And then over time, it's just like, well, it's got to get to this amount before I'll pay off my mortgage. And you know what I mean? And then it's like, oh, well, maybe I got to get to this before I'll pay off my mortgage. And that's kind of continuing on. The other point that I'll make is maybe 6 weeks ago, I used the Bitcoin company, which is an amazing app, to purchase a couple of JB Hi-Fi vouchers to buy a laptop
that we're using
right now. I paid $1,600 for it, and immediately the price ran. So now this laptop is worth about $2,500. So there you go. Yes, very.
Do you want to say something, Hats, or shall I go next on that same? I've forgotten the question, but on that same sort of rant, I think that institutional borrowing option is sooner than we think. That's probably the narrative of the next cycle, is the institutional offering against over collateralized lending. I think that's probably going to play quite a big role in the next cycle. I think, just to your point, Dale, around do we take some chips off the table? For me, I've thought long and hard about this, and I think what Bitcoin's number go up ultimately does for me personally is give me optionality around how I choose spend my time. So I am looking, I will always hustle. I will always work. I'm not ever going to retire. I'm never going to stop working. I will always do gigs. I'll always hustle. I'll always have something. That's just how I'm wired. I just like being in and amongst shit and creating value and earning, spending, earning purchasing power. But what I think number go up does for me within the next cycle, it's just give me optionality. So it's maybe that I don't do the 10-day, the fiat slave mine anymore. Maybe I do the 9-day or the 8-day option, because I do have those options available to me. Maybe it is, I've already decided I'm going to take 12 months with the little fam bam in and around Australia at the end of the year. 6 months of that.
Is that official?
Definitely happening. 6 months of it's going to be me not working, and then the other 6 months will be me working on the road, which I've got some options. But do you know what I mean? Like, that's what my mentality starts to shift now around my purchasing power. So I don't have to hustle and earn the X amount of dollars that I do in fiat terms now if, we do experience a 5X or something. So it's my mentality towards stack and sats. It's going to shift. It'll probably be towards not stacking as much and then leveraging off that purchasing power and just knowing that shit sorted. So the fiat
can I just ask you practically? So let's say you're going to take your 6-month trip, and dude, I've got an idea that we're working on a dreamy idea. It's not that different to yours, but I'm wondering now, are you going to have to sell a little bit of Bitcoin and at this same time continue earning, or are you just going to go, hey, we're going to scale back our lifestyle big time. We're going to try and hack a cost-effective lifestyle, and then I'm not going to stack for a year, but that's okay. I don't care. Yeah,
that's more the shift, right?
Yeah,
and it's easier said than done, mind you, but that's going to mean hustling on the road. So I will still be working. I'm taking 6 months off, but I will be, doing gigs and earning. But my intent will be not to sell sats at all.
Are you going to leave the miners on, mate, when you go?
Yeah, mate. Yeah. On your power bill. I'll include it in the. I'll rent this place out that I'm living in now, and I'll just say I'll keep the shed going, keep the miners on in the shed, and then just not tell the people tendency that they're paying for the electricity bill. Why is that bill so high? It must be due to the hot water system.
Can
Can I interest you in sellyourhomeforbitcoin.com?
What's your take, Cats? What do you reckon?
So I was going to just come in and say I'm never selling, but that's a sort of, if you had like some sort of a, like family emergency or medical emergency or that kind of thing where you had to liquidate your Bitcoin to be well, that you do that. Definitely. There's nothing more important. So so we can all say that we're never selling, but you should sell if you had to. But that said, if I can avoid that, and if I'm, hopefully those things don't happen to any of us, I think spending is the way. So I'll still be an accumulator in a sense that I'll still be buying Bitcoin on my DCA, but I'll start to spend more. And yeah, as I said, Brenda's just shouting out Bitcoin Company or Fold or Lolly or Satsback or whoever you want to choose. Do it cleverly. Get some Satsback for what you're going to do. You can already do it for your supermarket bill or your what did you use, JB Hi-Fi or whatever. Hi-Fi, so let's say your income is, pick a number, X thousand a month, and you can stack into Bitcoin, and then you watch the price go up, and then you sell, you spend a little bit, and you pay for your Kohl's voucher or something. That's the way to do it. It's a bit of a pain in the ass. But if you're
it's not that hard though.
It's really not, it's not difficult. It's not difficult, but it's like another thing. It's like the UTXO thing. It's like okay, I just need to learn how to do this, and once I know how to do it, that just becomes my default way of doing. So and also, I mean, for all that I'm saying, Kohl's and JB Hi-Fi, what I also would love to see is people start to spend with other Bitcoiners. So because there is no, like, if Daz is offering something that I'm willing to buy, Daz is just as good as hodler as I am. What are you offering, Dad? I don't know what you're willing to buy. But
the head wobbles a bit insane.
I'll sell anything for sats.
Yeah, well, there you go, right? So
another domain right there.
Yeah, I'll sell it. Yeah. Well, you just totally throw me. Like, so if he's offering something and I want that something, then if I buy it from Daz, he hodls just as good as I hodl. So that those sats are never coming back on the market if he can avoid it as well, right? So that's why if you can, start to spend a little bit, and then if you can beyond that, can start to spend a bit with Bitcoiners. That's the goal there, because that then creates the circular economy that we all say we want to live in, right?
It's also nice to help people accumulate KYC free Bitcoin, and you getting something in return. Like totally. I've got a when I talk about a supplier, I've got a honey supplier here in Brizzy. He caters to the Warburton's honey needs, and I go, honey, like nobody's business. And yeah, every time we have a meetup, I'm just like, it's not even about the price. I don't care. I like your honey, bro.
Yeah, you started.
Yeah, we just started because you're mucking around, Mr. Nicotine.
Hurry up and have your Christmas dairy. It's the only one you get.
Yeah.
Tell your kids.
Ho, ho, ho. It's been a wonderful year. Welcome to the show, fellas. Very stoked to have you on the Christmas edition.
Boom. Thanks for having us.
Ho, ho, ho. That's you boys covered.
I can't believe you started.
Well, this is what happens. Your
fucking sex swing keeps coming into your background. It keeps coming in. You can't hide it. You don't want to hide it.
No, I'm not hiding it. It's a open secret.
So let's kick off proceedings with what's happening in Daz's world, because you've had a proverbial, actual, maybe quite literal whirlwind of a few days. So like, just tell everyone sort of what's been happening, because we were going to chat last week sometime, and then Cyclone Jasper came and shook things up, shall we say?
Yeah. Cyclone. So we had a cyclone last, I think it was Wednesday. Cross. What's today? I'm losing track of days. So Wednesday, it went north. We got the southern end of it. Not too bad in Cairns, where I am. Mossman, Port Douglas to the north of us copped a bit of a hiding. And then we just basically had the neighbour's rain gauge showed just under 1.5 meters worth of rain. So 1,500 mil worth of rain since last Wednesday to today's finally dried up. So it was pumping like the last couple of days, and we've had like flood risk, all sorts of crazy shit happening, power outages, you name it. It's all happening in the tropical far north Queensland.
My God.
Everyone's good.
Dude,
there we go. Well, good to I think
background off.
Yeah.
Get that background right off there. Yeah, you guys. There we go. You're back.
Much better.
Anyway, well, okay. So I know you're not probably having a drink, Daz, but I'll toast the two idiots. Cheers, boys. Merry Christmas.
Cheers.
Cheers, boys.
What are you drinking? What are you drinking, Dale?
Sheep
I've
dip.
got a monkey shoulder with a little bit of with a
Oh
bit
yeah,
of
they're
lime.
nice. They're nice.
Yeah. What are you knocking back there? A little bit of Coke?
Yeah, a bit of Shiraz.
Oh, El Shirazi. Okay.
Oh
lovely.
yeah.
Yeah, Brendo doesn't get the good glasses.
Yeah, I know.
We have to give him the kids tumblers when he comes round.
And who's
So-
the only one that has actually smashed glasses?
Pause.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. So I'm going to try and be reasonably organized here, keep us relatively on track, because I feel like this could turn into a bit of a shit show if certain individuals are just taking control. So maybe for people who are just listening, we'll sort of identify the individuals concerned, because some people are not going to get doxed in visual form. We've got Hats. Hats is the one with a funny accent, essentially.
Says Dale. Excellent.
Yes. Touche. Okay.
Hids is the one with the funny accent.
What was that?
What the fuck was
That was like Kiwi.
I'll never be great at accents, to be fair.
No. All right. And then we have the other half of the two idiots, Brendo, and then Daz, the man with many talents, musical, looking glass, author, handsome father. What else?
And he's actually going to be in another Lord of the Rings remake with that beard.
There we go. So
Look, Dale, this is going to be carnage.
oh god, I'm actually terrified. Okay, so let's just start off with a little bit of let's do a little bit of a year in review, shall we? So the year, it's been, I think, quite fascinating for me. Currently, I'm just like walking on cloud 9. I feel bullish vibes in my veins, and we'll jump into that. But let's just jump into first, like, what did you guys find to be the most surprising thing in Bitcoin? Because no matter what, it always sort of pulls something strange. And yeah, is there anything, I chucked these questions to you in advance, so I hope you boys have some fairly well prepared answers.
I'm going to let you know I did zero fucking homework for this.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
dear.
and
Okay,
you know
well,
what?
We're winging
You better
it.
believe Hats has sat down for hours stewing over the.
Yeah, I've got I chose my typeface. I put it on a lovely border. And I wanted to ask you to see yours, and it's done. It's non-existent.
First thing Hat said to me is like, "So did you look at the questions?" I'm like, "Nah."
True professionals. I can't imagine why you stopped podcasting.
We didn't stop. We were kicked.
Yeah. So are you talking 2023 or just Bitcoin in general?
No, I'm talking about, Bitcoin 2023. What are some of the things that you guys saw that you found quite surprising? I mean, I'll start Ordinals. Like, I never thought that there would be NFTs on Bitcoin. I know they started there, but it's just kind of baffling to me. And I'm a little bit uneducated on the topic, but that to me has been the most surprising aspect. And it forced me to actually start looking at fees, which I never bothered. I mean, frankly, I didn't even bother looking at this mempool.space website. And I've actually become quite friendly with it of late. I'm like, my God.
Welcome.
I now understand all your tweets and whatnot, Hats. I'm like,
yay. Somebody does, finally.
Yeah, finally. But it's just like, that has been blowing my mind. And I'm like, you're buying on exchange, and maybe you're not buying a huge amount. Maybe you've got $1,000 sitting there, and it's going to cost you like $75 to withdraw. And you're going like, well, this sucks. So how do I actually go about doing this? And then I started thinking all about the dust and people who've got $10, $20 worth of Bitcoin. What's going to happen to them in the future? So that's my surprising one in the hat. I'm happy we can talk a little bit about Ordinals there if you like. But
that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you boys think.
So what's causing it? Do we think, like, who is taking up all this block space? What's the conspiracy theory there?
Fucking Udi.
Or is it BlackRock? Or is it like who is it?
I saw Checkmate post something and said it's not just the Ordinal, the Ordtods or whatever they're called. And I don't know, like, that's why I'm a little bit illiterate on it. So there's something else going on. It's not just NFTs, it's inscriptions, but like, I don't even know what are they putting in there? So it's not just, it's like data. They're like dumping data in there, but I don't know what it is.
So let's say you were just about, you had the wind that you were just about to have your ETF approved, right? And you wanted to make your offering more attractive than the other offering. Why would your offering was basically really low fees and the other offering was, oh my God, I'm not paying $75 a transaction. I'm just saying. I don't know. Nobody knows is the point. Like, I guess nobody knows. Like, anybody, whoever's willing to pay the money will get their transaction through the next block, right?
But
so ultimately, we're going to take their money. But in the short term, it causes all sorts of disruption.
But is it short term? Like, if it's going where we believe it will eventually inevitably go and to becoming global money, and you've got 8 billion people trying to transact, not exclusively on chain, obviously, but if they're wanting to move wealth, how is that scalable?
Well, ultimately, fees are going to rise significantly. Definitely. And it's not going to be being caused by what's happening just now. It's going to be caused by genuine transaction volume. So yes, the base layer will be used for high value transactions.
But if we anticipate that it's going to go off next year, like the fees are just going to be high for,
well, they may never come back
forevermore.
Maybe.
1 sat per byte, Catan, you poor bastard.
Yeah, what do you reckon?
Few things I think about with it. So healthy fee environment is great. I think the question whether there's going to be a fee environment in the future for miners as the block reward scales down, talking 20, 30 years as halvings keep occurring every 4 years, and that block reward gets halved every 4 years. This healthy fee environment is a good signal toward demand for the base layer, so that miners are incentivized to keep mining. And I think the block reward argument then becomes moot. I think there's probably a few things at play here. Wouldn't surprise me if there is a ETF applicant loading up on some Bitcoin right now, which is also reinforced with the bullish price action that we've experienced for the last few months. But ultimately, I don't give a fuck. I don't give it too much thought, to be perfectly honest. I don't look at ordinals. I don't look at descriptions. And I think the most bullish thing for it, and the reason why I'm not worried about it, is ultimately those fees are denominated in Bitcoin, not in fiat. So they will run out of fucking, if they're using it for these stupid JPEGs that they want to inscribe, or files or inscriptions, or selling secret sats and all sorts of bullshit that, the crypto bros want to bring to it. Ultimately, they're going to run out of Bitcoin before it becomes a real problem. And I think also what these high fee environment do is incentivize the community as a whole and the developers to pull their fucking fingers out and work on scaling solutions, whether that's shared UTXOs on base layer, or layer 2 solutions, or side chains, or liquid, or whatnot. I think it's bullish overall for the whole ecosystem because of the fact that we do have an issue with UTXOs. We've known for years that not everyone who's going to want to own Bitcoin is going to be able to actually own a UTXO. And we're sitting there as Bitcoiners, we're so early, we're sitting there talking about things like UTXO management, UTXO consolidation, because we've got fuckloads of them. And we're the minority, right? We are going to be a very rare breed if you own more than one UTXO. Admittedly, you are, the elite of future humans on this planet by owning one.
Yes,
So
I like that.
It's good to know. Yeah.
See, looking at us just now,
it's a nice way to put it there, Jazz. Yeah, I agree with you in the sense that it's like, let the free market decide whether it's valuable or not. I think that ultimately it will be proven to be bullshit. And if anything, it sort of does force us to figure out alternative solutions and get people onboarded to those sooner rather than later. And maybe we just, the longer that low fees persisted, perhaps you could argue that there was just complacency. There wasn't the sense that we have to, it's a nice to have. And now it's kind of going, well, now we got to do it, because even idiots like me who couldn't give a shit about the technicals, I'm now even looking at the at mempool spaces. So it's in my mind. So it's got to be on a lot of people who are much smarter than me mind, you know what I mean? And who are building stuff. So yeah, that's awesome. What were you saying there, Hats?
I don't know, but what you're gonna get. So all of us on this call have probably been preaching the DCA thing for quite a while, which is good advice. However,
it has been.
It still is good advice, right? But we probably didn't focus enough, because we were all sort of complacent about the fees, on consolidation. So let's say somebody out there has been $20 a week or $50 a week or whatever they've been doing, and they've been thinking, oh, these guys also preach not my keys, not my coins. So they've been whipping out of the exchange every single time, or every week, or every month, or whatever they'll be doing. What they now have is a lot of low value UTXOs, and they are going to need to consolidate those at some stage. Otherwise, they're just going to be, unspendable in the future. So they should be paying close attention to mempool.space, or big shout out Michael for Fee Advisor. That'll just ping a link straight to you. rather than you having to sit there captivated by mempool.space, which I also love. But yeah, so it's Daz is right. It just brings into focus what we should have been focusing on anyway. But it's the same old thing. It's like, yeah, you know you should be doing it, but until you're kicked in the nuts, you don't do anything about it. Well, now you're getting kicked in the nuts, and now you're going to start.
Here's a question, just practically for idiots like me. Now that Brenda's retired, we need another idiot on the scene.
Welcome. I'm more than happy to pass the torch, my friend.
From one idiot to another.
Yeah.
but basically, so like when we talk about consolidating UTXOs, is it quite as simple as literally looking at like taking everything from one wallet, dragging it to another in one foul swoop? Is that literally what we're talking about? Like, we're not talking about like, and this is not for someone like going, hey, get a Sparrow wallet, look at all your UTXOs. Like, they don't care about that. What happens if they've got some Coinbase? I mean, I'm going to say Coinbase app, and it's like, you don't know what UTXOs you're having. Listen, man, you've been DCing, you've been dropping it into that like for the last year. I just suggest dropping the entire batch in one. Is that going to consolidate, or am I missing something?
Few things. I'll take that a few boys. Like, so if you're DCAing into Coinbase, most of the time that you don't really have a UTXO problem when you've got coins on exchange. You do have a problem about fees getting them off exchange at the moment, which is also, if I go back to the earlier point, bullish as well, because if you're buying from a Bitcoin only exchange, it should also incentivize those exchanges to build out their Lightning offerings to get those coins off exchange. But side note, so if you've been DCAing into an exchange, as long as you haven't withdrawn that from the exchange, which we obviously always advocate for you to do, but you don't really have a UTXO problem yet. The UTXO problem only really exists once you take self-custody of that. And it's as simple as understanding how many times have I sent myself Bitcoin. Every time you send yourself Bitcoin from an exchange, you're basically creating a new UTXO. So that's probably the easiest way for people to grok around how many mod I have is how many times have you sent Bitcoin from your exchange to yourself, or has someone else sent you Bitcoin, or have you moved Bitcoin to yourself? So pretty much every time you do that, you are creating a new UTXO. The best way for you to theoretically consolidate, I would argue, Sparrow wallet. Get somebody who knows what they're doing with Sparrow wallet, because it gives you a really good visual on exactly how many UTXOs you have, and then what best you can select each UTXO and then move them on. So that's the best way to consolidate it, is to get a visual representation of actually what you have out there. Because if you've only sent yourself Bitcoin, like you left it on the exchange and you were lucky enough to stack 10 grand, you moved it all off in one hit, chances are you've only got one UTXO. So you don't really know what you don't know unless you interrogate mempool.space, go through all your transaction IDs from your exchange if they give them to you, or put your wallet into something like Sparrow, which has all of your UTXOs listed, so you know exactly how big a problem you have. Now, the other important thing I think to understand is, like, later on, like, it's only really the consolidation of those UTXOs. Like, Bitcoin fees are all based on data size. So obviously, if you're going to send $1,000 worth of Bitcoin and they're held in 100 UTXOs, that's when, like, to Hatz's earlier point, it becomes unspendable. But this issue doesn't really exist if you haven't been doing it. Like, if you've been sending yourself your DCA stack every single day, yeah, you got a big problem. But, like, I know I've never advocated for that. It was always move it off, in $1,000. It was always my sort of overarching guide. So if you've got $1,000 UTXOs, then right now you can still move it. Like, it's not such an issue if you want to go and grab 10 of them. Those transactions, a lot of the transaction data limit that you're going to have is made up of not just the UTXO, but all the other transaction data as well gets formulated into that. So if you're going to take $10,000 UTXOs and then send it to yourself in a new address under one UTXO, then you're broadening that fee that you're going to pay spread across those 10 UTXOs. So it's not like the every UTXO you're two timesing the fee that you're going to pay. Yeah. There's an so again, I think I'd just sum all that up again by saying your best friend would be a Sparrow wallet. There's plenty of tutorials. If you're in Bitcoin right now and you've got a hardware wallet, Sparrow's within your capability.
Yeah. Daz. Oh, you go.
No, just very quickly to do that. Wicked Smart Bitcoin, YouTube, great tutorial, really understandable for your average person. Sorry,
for Sparrow.
Sparrow, Sparrow and consolidating your UTXOs.
Yeah.
If I remember, I'll put it in the show notes. Done.
Daz, I'm interested to hear what your opinion is on, I guess, balancing UTXO consolidation versus loss of privacy.
So the way I sort of look at it now is I'm of the opinion, for me personally, my personal stack, not the docs balances or anything, but I'm not touching this for a long, long time. So I don't mind having bigger UTXOs. And I figure when the time comes, if and when the time comes that I'm going to want to sell some of that stack, I've got different size buckets, but the majority of my stack now sits in quite healthy UTXOs because I know it's not going to see the light of day for quite some time. And I expect that fee environment to be a lot higher than what we're experiencing even now, if and when I choose to spend that. In saying that, the way I trade that off, because obviously the bigger UTXO you have, the worse it is for you in regards to privacy later on. So if later on I want to go and send Dale, quite a healthy stack of that Bitcoin, that transaction gives him the ability to peer into that UTXO that I've extinguished when I've sent him those funds. I think in future we will have a lot more, more than today, tools like second layers, third layers that will allow me to obscure that history a lot better. So I would move it onto Lightning potentially before I moved it onto Dale, for example, and then that just obscures that footprint, or I mix it on my way out of there. So if I want to send him 0.1 of a Bitcoin, I send it through. If I've got 0.5, I'll send it through a mixer of 0.1 pool, and then off it goes on the other side of that. All fee dependent, obviously, and then technology dependent as well. If and when we choose to do that, like I said, man, I'm in all honesty looking. These aren't going to see the light of day for quite some time, so I'm not future Darren problem.
It's a funny thing because it's like we're trying to get normies into Bitcoin, and now we're going to throw fucking UTXO management at them.
Yeah.
I actually think we are, though. I think right now we are. Sorry, you're right. But like down the line a little bit, because the problem will become more evident, people will create a solution for the problem, and it will be sort of abstracted away from people. So let's say you're creating some that's the selling point for why you would use something over something else. We can do this for you in the background, and it might be we're consolidating, regardless of what Bitcoin you put in, we'll look at the fees, and when fees reach a level that you say that you're comfortable with, we'll consolidate this into, I don't know, million Satoshi UTXOs or 10 million Satoshi UTXOs, whatever you determine.
And the reality will be most normies from here on won't even touch space chain. They will jump straight. You buy it through a, say, Bitcoin only exchange that has Lightning enabled, and you can set up a custody Lightning wallet now, with your own seed phrase. So they will just send it from Lightning. They won't even touch base chain. Not that that's necessarily recommended, obviously. However, I think as we move forward, that's where technology and the ecosystem is going to just get built, is on second and third layers.
You know what? I listened to a podcast with Marty Bent and a guy, I want to call him Freddy Krueger, but that can't be right.
It is Freddy Krueger. I listened to it last night and I couldn't.
I did not get that reference when you said Fred.
No, the guy's name is Freddy.
Yeah, Krueger. Fred Krueger.
No way.
But I'd like to get your thoughts, Hats, because you've listened to it. But when I was sitting there listening, right, and I was thinking to myself, I'm putting on my normie hat. I just want price exposure. I don't care about UTXOs. I don't even really care about self-custody and that whole spiel. It hasn't resonated with me. I'm not going to go and roll a dice, get 12 words, hammer it into some steel, bury it in the fucking garden. This is just not how the average person is going to do it. The money is with boomers. They have most of the wealth. And the way that most people are going to be onboarded in the next it could be as soon as the next 6 to 18 months, let's say, once the ETFs are there, they're just going to buy an ETF as if you're buying any other share. You could buy Apple, S&P, whatever. And none of this is relevant. They don't care. And it's really for us Bitcoiners to care. We'll care, and we'll care about the people who care about freedom and who want to use Bitcoin as a tool for freedom, or fuck you money, which is partially why I love it so much. Whatever the case may be. And not just fuck you because this number go up, but it's also you'll never get this. It's all mine. And the average person can care about that. So I don't know what you guys think about that. I mean, this feels like a very esoteric in culture discussion. And I suspect that in the next couple of years, we'll be talking amongst ourselves about this problem, and average people just care about the number.
So I would respond with a question, right? So since you have entered Bitcoin, what has your behavior done? Bearing in mind, you just told us you're now looking at mempool.space. Right. So what's going to happen, in my opinion, you're right. I mean, I'm being a prick, but like people don't care. They'll enter and they want exposure in the easiest, safest, what they perceive to be the easiest and safest and quickest and cheapest possible way. Yeah, that's absolutely how they'll enter. But as they learn,
and as number goes up,
and as they get kicked in the teeth by something going wrong, they will slowly edge towards what is better, what we're trying to advocate for now. But yes, I don't think you can take your average normie off the street and say, if you're not staring at mempool.space 4 hours a day and consolidating UTXOs and DCA and $14 a day because that's the optimum. No, of course not. No.
Daz is itching. Daz is itching.
Go on then, Daz.
No, I agree.
Do you know what? I think it depends on your allocation. So if I just take the average boomer and I just got like the hypothetical dad in my mind, my dad, and I go, okay, is my dad going to do 50% allocation? Absolutely not. Would he do a 5? I think that'd be a stretch. If he made a 5% allocation to any individual investment, he might watch it, but he's not going to sit there and consume his time. Maybe he'll learn a bit more. Maybe he'll go further down the rabbit hole, a little bit. You go, oh, wow, this is good for people who, don't have access to technology that enables them to save, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe I'm living in Malawi and I've got horseshit inflation that's murdering me, and now I can actually just save some of my energy into this thing that nobody could confiscate. Yeah, that's nice. But I'm still I've got other stuff going on. So like, I agree with you. I think it depends on your allocation. Like for me, because of the allocation, hashtag rug pal irresponsibly long, you've got to get like familiar with what's potting here. And it fascinates me to no end. And I continue to learn. But if it was a 2% allocation, Hats, I couldn't give a shit, man.
Okay, but what about if let's say we get your dad to 5% allocation, and then we get to September 2025, and that 5% is now 50% allocation, and he didn't even buy anymore.
Yeah, Woo-wee.
That's the problem, right? That's you've nailed it there, right? And this is the same thing I think for Bitcoiners, even like thinking about their own custody and stuff like that. We're seeing it more and more with the work we're doing in this collaborative custody space with the Bitcoin advisor. Is like, if you've got like tens of thousands worth of Bitcoin, that's manageable in a single sig for most. It's like, if I fucked it up, it'd be devastating for me, but it wouldn't be life ending. But as soon as that starts to be meaningful wealth for a pleb, like into the 6 digits, where you're like, oh, hang on, I could pay my house off with this, or this could really support my family. That's when you start to think about your single sig environment too, right? And you go, fuck, I am really at risk of fucking this up.
Yeah.
And we're having those conversations every single day. And this is, I think, the same thing. And I think what we're going to see inevitable is institutional custody solutions. Whether you agree with that or you don't, they're absolutely coming. They're absolutely going to have, and that's where the majority of people will custody Bitcoin. I think where we need to really work as Bitcoiners now in this space is educating what's a good, what are the trade-offs, and what would be a good or the best solution in that institutional trade-off. So I think, I can't remember what pod was speaking about this the other day. It might have been one of Preston's, I think, with Joe Calasari, and that is like, okay, we're going to get ETFs. They're absolutely fucking coming. But what would a good ETF look like? A good ETF would be completely transparent, would post their addresses, would post their balances, would be able to prove that. The bad ETFs would be the BlackRocks, potentially, who would keep everything obscured. It's like, oh no, we wouldn't give our addresses for security reasons, where it's like, well, I can post my addresses, you can't do anything fucking with them, so why not be as completely transparent as you absolutely could be? And I think that's the next phase for us in adoption, and as Bitcoiners, is to hold our mum and dad's hand, hold it, uncle's hand, and say, okay, you're gonna not own your own key, you're not gonna have base chain UTXOs, but you're gonna own Bitcoin through one of these vehicles. Which is the best one? What are the trade-offs? And then hopefully that toe in the door, dipping their toe in, is enough for them to say then, okay, as it does become a meaningful allocation to their overall portfolio. I was the same thing. I started my self-managed super fund in 2020, took a very reasonable diversified approach at the time for what I thought, what I was allowed to, with in consultation with wifey, because I was pretty bullish at the time, but I wasn't as bullish as I am now. So I dipped my toe in, and I wanted to remain married. But the problem is now that allocation is such a larger percentage of my self-managed super fund. I've obviously added to it over time, but now it's quite a considerable percentage of that whole portfolio, but there's nothing else I want to buy. There is nothing else I want to do with that money. I would only want to sell it and buy more Bitcoin. So it is, in my mind, the safest thing for my future is to have that. But that mentality starts to shift as your net wealth increases. And it's going to be the same thing for your dad with a 5% allocation. That will become a 10% allocation, a 15% allocation, in time 50% allocation. And he's going to look at it and go, okay, if I take some off the table now, what are my options? And hopefully we've done our job in educating around what are your investable options. And it's all fucking dog shit and manipulated bullshit out there. You can't buy anything else, in my mind. There is nothing else to buy. I've looked. I've tried. There's nothing else.
If you're thinking about diversification, then for me, the best type of diversification is just like, okay, I'm only
MicroStrategy shit.
What
volcano bonds?
What other type of Bitcoin am I going to own? Is it is it an El Salvador bond? Is it a MicroStrategy share? Is it an ETF with BlackRock? Is it Bitcoin on single sig? Is it Lightning wallet? Is it multi-sig custody? So that's the diversification of the future. People just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. So, I think what you guys are describing, and the way I'm kind of putting this model in my mind, it's kind of like, okay, we've got the small fellas who are doing their own little setups. Then you have people, and they kind of trust themselves. Then you got people who don't trust themselves, and they've got smaller amounts. They need someone to hold their hands. So they'll have some sort of collaborative custody model. Then you got big, heavy hitters. They might go that route, but they might also go for like a multi-institutional collaborative custody model type thing, like what I believe OnRamp is doing with Jesse Myers. And then you might say, okay, that's a better bet than say leaving your coins with a single institution. So you got to kind of spread the risk. And then you'll have people that are dabbling in ETFs. And then I wonder, and this is something, I don't know where I heard this, and I actually had a chat with Wiz about this, and he took the under and I've taken the over. I think someone will do this. There's like 8 to 12 ETFs. I haven't bothered looking, but I think one of them are going to want to distinguish themselves from the pack because, obviously BlackRock's the big dog, Fidelity's right up there, Van Eck's involved. I mean, those are big players. And then I think, you got like Cathie Wood, like I don't think ARK is going to attract a ton of capital. Franklin Templeton, they're not going to just be bringing in like billions and billions. I reckon one of them is going to want to, over time, I think it's going to take time, but they're going to try and allow you to withdraw into self-custody, like an in-kind ETF as opposed to like a cash settled one. That's what I think, because that'll be a smart move if I'm a provider, because otherwise it's just a mess. It's like, how do you compete with these people?
Well, only one of them is actually going to custody their own Bitcoin. I don't know if it's Fidelity or Valkyrie, maybe.
It's Fidelity. Everyone else is in Coinbase.
It's Coinbase. Yeah. So there's a start.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's what these businesses do all day, every day, is try and differentiate their products against their competitors. Like all businesses, not just these type of businesses, all businesses are just constantly trying to find a competitive edge against their competitor. So yeah, absolutely they'll do it. What they all decide their competitive edge is going to be is up for debate, but there's going to be lots of options. Somebody might say, okay, well, we're going to offer, if you hold a Bitcoin ETF with us, we'll allow you to have a property mortgage based on that as the collateral, right? There's an advantage.
Well, I think the fact that that zucchini eating retards FTX blowing up was so public facing. Like even people who aren't really into it, a lot of people have heard FTX, that term FTX, or at least aware that there was a big exchange that blew up. And I think that just helps to reinforce that message around, because most of your friends and family know you're a Bitcoiner, right? They haven't been able to escape your ranting over the last couple of years. So hopefully they're going to lean into their trusted Bitcoiner friend or family member to get allocation to this over time. And then it's like just looping back to that previous conversation about that education piece. It's like, well, there's FTX. Here's that example of a lot of people putting trust in that exchange. And this is what ended up happening with the rug pull around them not owning the Bitcoin that they say laid claim to. So that's those helping inform those conversations for those people who do approach you over Christmas dinner to say, that's what you need to be looking for. The transparency of this is how you custody Bitcoin. This is how they should be custodying Bitcoin. And this is how they should be reporting on their balances and making sure that they have the Bitcoin that they lay claim to.
It's a funny feeling though, like over the years where it's just like everyone knows that I'm a Bitcoiner and like I feel good that people will come to me if they need help, but also I'm kind of shitting myself because it's just like, fuck, everyone knows I'm a Bitcoiner.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's why half of us are NIMs and, don't like to show their faces on web.
Oh, we fucked, Daz.
Yeah.
I'm doxxed enough. I'm doxxed enough. You'd find me if you needed to. But
Dale, you can't hide that beautiful face, mate. Best looking man in Bitcoin.
Male model from Mudgee.
Oh, mate, he's like a South African Ricky Martin, eh?
Oh, that's brilliant. Okay,
that was good. See, well, I'm gonna have to try and listen to my South African accent impersonation.
Yeah, that was quite good.
That was a good one.
Yeah, they were good.
I can only do Tony Gregg from the 12th Man. So anything else is...
Oh, do it.
No.
Send me an audio file, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, no, but you know what, Brandon, I would just say, I've said to you when we chatted about this, like, you just back yourself. Because I think what's crazy is like how you think to yourself how much you know. And when you start with somebody who knows nothing, you will look like the goddamn oracle. Like, it'll be like, what is your question? Like, speak to me about your specific question. And you know enough about UTXOs. I mean, that's like layers down, The average person doesn't understand anything. Like, honestly, I'm so excited. I can't wait for all these people that have been a bit lippy and a bit like dismissive over the last few years. And I can't wait. And I might even go like, listen, bro, I'm a bit busy at the moment. I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not my nature. I'll probably help them. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's 100% inevitable.
Are you going to stay humble? That's the number one question.
It depends on the person. It depends on the person, Daz, because I will be very humble with many. And my sister, I'm going to fucking rub her nose in it.
Or just buy her a Porsche or something. Lambo.
It's the people who have been very dismissive and the most vocal who deserve to be locked. And because the thing is, one of the things I'm doing actually for next year, because I'm like, really want to ramp up my work in the space and like take it to the next level so that I can basically be doing this full time. And I want to produce some really good quality content, okay? And it's going to be nice, high production value. I booked a studio in Cape Town, doing it all with African prices, not mucking around with costly Aussie labor. And one of the things I was thinking about is, okay, where do I start? You start at the very top. And it actually says, if you don't have intellectual humility, then just stop right there and walk away. It's a waste of time because I know that I encountered it once, twice, 3 times. And I was like, this is shit. This is shit. This is silly. These people are delusional. I did not give it any light of day. And it's just literally because I was just a bit intellectually arrogant. You know what I mean? It didn't fit within my framework, didn't fit within the way I saw the world. And so the first challenge to people is like, you need to be prepared to challenge your preconceived ideas of how the world works. Like, I mean, I'd say, hey, did you see what happened during COVID? And all the people who said masks were bullshit and this thing didn't work and it was actually probably the cure's worse than the disease. Hello, I was right. So maybe you can listen to me about this thing. So, but most people just not intellectually humble enough to actually open their mind. And I can't help those people, unfortunately.
No, and I think most people don't. No one likes admitting they're wrong. It's just more palatable for some than others.
Do you know the funny thing about admitting you're wrong though? It takes about 10 seconds. It's a little bit painful for about 20 seconds, and then it doesn't. There's nothing else there.
No,
and you can just move forward.
Right. That's right.
Like it's the easiest.
It's actually probably relief.
Totally, right? Totally. So people that come in, like anybody who comes in, doesn't matter who they are. If they come in with a genuine question and ask for help, like every Bitcoiner, almost every Bitcoiner is going to be very, very helpful there because they're just going to be delighted that somebody has finally come and asked them a genuine question. Anybody that comes in with it, but this is why anybody comes in with the, I've arrived and I'll tell you what's wrong. yeah, those people aren't going to fare so well.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people been here for like 10 years now. They've been fielding these same arguments over and over, and they're just tired of it. So they're going to be hostile, and that's fine. I'm good with that. Maybe somebody who's been here for a year or two has maybe just not had quite the same level of, you know, irritation for such a long time, and they'll be a bit more open to it. Fair enough. We just need everybody.
That's what I'm probably more grateful for Bitcoin than anything else is its ability to humble me. Because I was that guy. I was that arrogant guy who knew a little bit about everything to an arrogant degree, where I would shut down most things, right? If it wasn't in my frame of reference from my worldly experience.
Oh, it's a bit of a storm.
He has been shut
Jasper is back. Oh, shit.
He looks like Osama bin Laden right now. Oh man, you gotta clip that, Dale.
He's about to be,
dear.
he's about to be ditched off the side of a helicopter.
Oh, dude,
Back,
you just fully cut out.
Am I
mate.
back?
You're back.
Yeah.
I was on a really good fucking point too.
Brendo called you.
What did you say?
Osama bin Laden.
You pull. Oh, there you go again.
Oh, that's funny.
All right, we'll just we'll pause momentarily.
I think everybody comes in with that. You're just a little bit too, you know, everything about everything. But once you've been in this for a while, it's not just about this, but you start to go, oh shit, what else don't I know about? All these other things that I thought I knew about.
Well, it's the whole thing though. It's the wise man that I guess knows that he doesn't know everything. You know, it's the ones that aren't that smart that think they know everything. You know,
there is a quote about that.
Well, that was my butchering of whatever that quote was.
It's not what you know; it's about the things you know that just ain't so.
Yeah, that's
or something like that.
Yeah.
Or the known unknowns and the unknown knowns, like Donald Rumsfeld.
Yeah, yeah.
Look at Daz just like pausing.
Yeah, Daz is currently in
Islamabad, Daz,
awaiting terrorists and awaiting
storm.
Yeah.
But you know what, Brenna, what you were saying is actually so spot on, is because Daz has left the building.
He'll come back. Oh, there he is.
What you're saying is so spot on in terms of like, once you've arrived at Bitcoin and you start looking at it and you go, wow, there's so much that I don't understand. And then you start looking at other things. And then you start looking at other people writing about Bitcoin, and it's so misinformed. And you go like, what else are you talking shit about? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what's quite scary. And I don't know what the term is, but it's like, once you see people being pretty dishonest and lying about something that you have a particular expertise in, you start questioning everything. But you can't go complete psycho and everything's a psyop. There's nothing that's true. Because then you'll just be a miserable son of a bitch. Daz, sorry, you were on a wonderful rant. Have we got you in good enough connectivity? I don't know
what happened. I don't know what happened. It kicked me off this Wi-Fi feed. Shall I start my rant again?
Yeah, just start. Okay, so you were a little arrogant. You used to just dismiss people, etc.
I used to be. I still am. No, I used to be. So that's what I was thinking about. What I'm grateful for Bitcoin teaching me was to be a little bit more humble in my intellect, even in like I could be quite dismissive in the past of things that I probably didn't fully understand, but because it wasn't within my frame of reference, in my worldly, experience of I'm quite well educated. I'll have like that sort of attitude towards things. I was very dismissive of anything that didn't seem to be supported by the official narrative, right? So a lot more informed by mainstream and formal education and that sort of thing, where I think Bitcoin's lifted enough of the lid for me, discovering the fuckery around money throughout history, that it's made me more receptive to questioning everything else. And I think when you overturn enough rocks, you start to find that your whole worldview has been completely manipulated to a large extent, from everything from food to education to health to pharmaceuticals to a whole host of other things. And I think that's probably what I'm more grateful than anything that Bitcoin's taught me, is just to, that whole maxim, don't trust, verify, we say to death. It's a bit of a cliche, but it's really not. It's a fundamental thing, I think, for most humans as we navigate through, not to trust fucking anything. Do your own work, do your own research, and that's bastardized. Like that whole terminology now is like, I did my own research on the toilet. It's kind of like, well, what do you expect? Like, we've got access to information that they can't contain anymore. Like the narrative is completely out of their ability to control. And when I say that comes with a whole host of people will say, well, who's they? And it's like, well, it's a collective they. It's anybody who's had a vested interest to make you behave, act, consume in a way that they've wanted for whatever reason, whatever purpose. And they exist. They fucking exist. To acknowledge that, to think that they don't is completely naive and nonsensical. Rant over.
Done. Exactly, bro.
That's good.
That's very good. Like, I don't know if you guys had a chance to listen to my recent chat with Junior Dunworth. And one of the things we spoke about was social media and how it's basically like fast food for the brain. And it's just like that. It's like there's data scientists that are sitting there working out how to make you more addicted. And then you start looking around and you kind of go, maybe say 10. I'm old enough to remember when, you know, we'd go to, I mean, I had like those, you know, dumb analog phones or whatnot. They just couldn't do anything. It was just to phone mom or whatever. And I'd go to the club and, you know, maybe you get a text here and there. But today, you just see people walking around like zombies, basically on like digital fentanyl, walking around hunched over their phone. You know, oh, I'm in a lift, better quickly check Twitter. And I'm not going to lie, I'm addicted, but they've got it. And so at least we're woke, and this is the proper use of the word woke. But I mean, that's what it enables us to do. It kind of goes like, yes, once you peel the onion of money and you go, hold on, there's actually nothing underlying this. These people are just printing this thing, and certain people get access to it before others, and everything, like all my savings just deplete in value. And maybe that's why things are getting so expensive. And why do things have to necessarily inflate? Why can't they get cheaper? And you start like that journey, it takes you on everything else, man. So that's the beautiful thing about Bitcoin, I think. But I do feel as if there will be a time where, like, I don't believe that everyone who buys Bitcoin is going to grok that. I think that 95% of people just go, number go up, that's beautiful. It's just, you know, I'll continue watching Sky News, CNN, whatever it might be. Yeah, that's just my general sense.
I think I do agree, but I also think that the purchasing power that it will enable Bitcoiners who are here now with very similar thinking actually shapes a different world, because we will become, whether we like it or not, the lobbyists of the future.
Basically, we will be able to influence the direction of governance by virtue of the system, which today is controlled by cantillionaires and these giant corporations. And you're thinking that Bitcoiners will have an outsized influence.
Absolutely. And the difference being it's a fixed supply. So we have to be in line and congruent with value, right? So it's not like the lobbyists now who can print it out of thin air and then enact that because they have control of it. We as Bitcoiners have to navigate that in a value for value way. So even in that virtuous world in which we use our own capital to influence, it's going to be in a way that will have to reinforce the behavior that is fundamental to why we're here, if that makes sense. We can't just print it out of thin air. And this is why this Ordinals and all this bullshit is not going to last, because they won't be able to afford to put their fucking stupid monkey JPEGs on Bitcoin in the future, because it's not adding value. And that's really that's why I'm not worried, because the only thing Bitcoin will be used for in future will be providing value. You are going to have to provide me value in order for me to part with my Bitcoin. And it's going to have to be more value than I see my purchasing power being increased. And this is why it feeds back into that whole low time preference versus high time preference mentality and consumerism and all of these things, and I'll give a plug to Seb's book, because it speaks to this. It speaks about how money interweaves into society. So he's just released a book last week called Hidden Cost of Money. Phenomenal book. It's the book that hasn't been written to date around exactly how money influences the parental bond, how it infiltrates government, how it infiltrates business, how it infiltrates fucking the very fabric of our being and how we navigate and how we show up in this world. That book is written now. And I think, that is what's going to end up peeling back the layer for society as well, is that as people like us who think like us actually accumulate wealth, and we can actually use that wealth to create meaningful change in society. And we're going to win that battle, because fiat money is going to zero. So their ability to print and influence and do the things that they've been doing has only been possible through their access to the money printer. We're going to remove that from them. It might take time, might take 100 years, but we will win. Eventually we will win.
But
Hats, apologies for my boner.
Oh my God!
Let's get that sex swing out.
Oh boy!
Something was jabbing me in the side.
Oh, it couldn't
I was just
jab
at
you.
a
You guys are
really-
sitting too
That
far.
was a
apart.
really highbrow point to go with.
No,
and you
yeah,
just
yeah.
went in with a boner.
Sorry, I
God,
do that.
you know, I'm trying to go for like a more mature audience. This is not some sort of
No.
2-bit idiot show,
Come on,
bro.
Brendan.
Dude, come on.
You know, why don't you just start farting into the mic, son?
I actually tried to
Oh,
send
that
you a
would be
video of that before.
What are you going to
Anyway,
say
go,
there?
go
Hats?
highbrow. Hats, go highbrow.
So Daz said we, right? And I take issue with that slightly, right? Because we implies that it's us, as in like the people like us that are here. I don't think so. I don't think we're any different or any better, right? I think what happens is the next generation of we are the ones who actually start to provide the value in goods and services, right? We Bitcoiners, the early or maybe not everybody. This is probably trigger people, but the vast majority of early Bitcoiners are going to get fat and lazy, greedy, and slow, right? They're going to stop providing value. They're going to start living off the wealth that they created, and they're going to become we are going to become the shit of the future. Now, hopefully, we have to try and fight against that, right? But there will be other people constantly coming behind. But to Daz's point, there's no magic Bitcoin tree that's going to give us fat, lazy Bitcoiners anymore. We are just going to distribute the vast majority of us, right? And that's going to go to the other value providing or product or service providing people who give value to the world. And that's exactly how it should be. So there's going to be a constant churn of new value creators, and that value will continually redistribute down the age levels, in my opinion.
I like that. I do like that, you fat fucks.
I love the environmental piece as well, because especially in today's world where it's just become such a sort of hot button topic, you have all these companies virtue signaling about their ESG credentials, but then you'll have and I just read an article today, for example, where Ivory Coast happens to produce like the most cashews or the best cashews. They got great cashews, and then they can't produce those. They can't actually get involved in sort of what do you like? You don't refine cashews, but I don't think you just pluck them from a tree. Processing. Thanks. You know,
they're poisonous.
I knew Daz would be an expert.
I know. Oh, they. You know exactly. You're a meat maximalist, so you wouldn't give a shit. But they then go to Vietnam. Then they're processed, presumably people just, unpacking those little puppies, and then they'll send them to the States, right? And so it's like going back, forward. And then there's other situations where literally there's a crop grown in one place, it gets sent to another, and then it gets sent to another, and then eventually it arrives at the final destination. And you go how many hands is this thing touching in order to optimize the supply chain, to squeeze as much value as we can get out of this? And in the interim, you just got so much waste. I mean, another thing that just pisses me off is fast fashion. I hate it.
What's that?
Well,
fashion is
things you can wear for a night and just jug
the
away
stuff
again.
that it's basically the stuff where let's say you've got you go to Kmart and it's $5 for a shirt or whatever, and and I'm not giving girls a hard time here, but
But it is the girls. We know it's the
they like
girls.
to buy stuff, right? And so it's well, it's not a big deal. It's $20, it's $30, it's $50 or whatever. It's just a pile of just shit just accumulating in the cupboard, and it's not like long lasting stuff. And so I look forward to a world where actually people are more conscious consumers. And I don't know if Bitcoin necessarily aid that, but
my wife's really, really good at the op shop. She is really good at finding, a bargain or a pants or shirts or whatever. But her problem is that she keeps going to op shops and nothing leaves the house. It just comes. So you have a wardrobe this big, right? And we have it 50-50 when we first moved into the house. And I've got this much and she's got the rest.
Yeah.
Taking my coat hangers and all that kind of shit.
But to be fair, mate, you're only in a medium shirt, dude. How much space do you need?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Only a little fella.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Well, what can I do? I'm not gonna. Yeah, whatever.
Well, hang on, right? So I'm
just my shirts.
Yeah. What are you going to say there, Hats?
I'm just going to play the dick role. That's usually my role in life, right? But Dale, you said 20 minutes ago you're going to take play. Thanks. You said you're going to go and produce your high value content in South Africa, right?
Yes, I'm going there.
Because you're going to do that because it costs, right?
Oh,
Right now.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to have to edit this part out, dude. I can't look like an idiot.
This is a great point. This is this is a great point of mine. No, but you're doing that for a cost reason. Totally understandable, and
I know what you mean.
that's why everybody, all of these things, you know, the nuts or whatever you were saying before, that's getting flying around the world.
Someone's nuts are getting squeezed. I'm not sure.
But so what's going to fix this is once we are all operating on the same money, there's no need to go to some other place. There's no need for a South African to go to Finland, or somebody from Finland to come to Australia, or somebody from Australia to go to Scotland. It doesn't matter anymore. You can then do exactly the same thing in your own country. That's not to become xenophobic about it. That's like then you travel to experience these other places that have different things that you don't have, and that's wonderful, right? But the problem is the money. We're all doing it, and every decision we're making, we're going, okay, well, there's this option, there's that option. This option is a bit better, but that option is a bit cheaper. Can I afford the more expensive one? No, I can't, so I have to take the cheap one. Everybody's doing it.
Yeah. That's a great point, bro. That's a great point.
Thank you. Here we go.
There we go. I wanted to ask this question now. Okay, so this wasn't even on the agenda that nobody bothered to look at, so who cares?
Literally looking at my notes.
Oh, good man. Good man. Okay.
He's such a nerd.
Can you share them with me? New points.
So we're so I've said this a few times. It's not to be provocative or anything, right? But in the absence of number go up, we'd all just be talking about how wonderful this stable coin we have is. And that's just not as exciting in reality. And you know, I look at people also who talk about, oh, I'm not selling. And I understand like the inclination to not want to sell. And they might think of, you know, I'll borrow against it in the future, much like I can borrow against a house. But I suspect that those kind of solutions might take some time. Like, I think it could take a decade before those are sort of attractive enough for someone like me to be wanting to do that. I don't know, maybe 5 years. I don't know. Is there any sense over the next couple years, let's say in this next cycle, of taking some chips off the table and living life a bit, like, you know, and not just being sort of a rabid accumulator and saying, maybe I'll do something. Like, I know what one will look back in time and go inevitably, oh, there's balloons coming up. But
I just did that to put my hand up, but it was, yeah.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. So okay, I'm on the fence.
I'm going to make 2 points really quickly. So when I first started, thank you to hats, I'd always thought I'm going to get to a certain point in my stack, and I will, if it goes, you know, to the moon or whatever, I will pay off my mortgage. And then over time, it's just like, well, it's got to get to this amount before I'll pay off my mortgage. And you know what I mean? And then it's like, oh, well, maybe I got to get to this before I'll pay off my mortgage. And that's kind of continuing on. The other point that I'll make is maybe 6 weeks ago, I used the Bitcoin company, which is an amazing app, to purchase a couple of JB Hi-Fi vouchers to buy a laptop
that we're using
right now. I paid $1,600 for it, and immediately the price ran. So now this laptop is worth about $2,500. So
that's
there you go.
Yes,
very.
Do you want to say something, Hats, or shall I go next on that same? I've forgotten the question, but on that same sort of rant, I think that institutional borrowing option is sooner than we think. I think that's probably the narrative of the next cycle is the institutional offering against over collateralized lending. I think that's probably going to play quite a big role in the next cycle. I think, just to your point, Dale, around do we take some chips off the table? For me, I've thought long and hard about this, and I think what Bitcoin's number go up ultimately does for me personally is give me optionality around how I choose spend my time. So I am looking, I will always hustle. I will always work. I'm not ever going to retire. I'm never going to stop working. I will always do gigs. I'll always hustle. I'll always have something. That's just how I'm wired. I just like being in and amongst shit and creating value and earning purchasing power. But what I think number go up does for me within the next cycle is just give me optionality. So it's maybe that I don't do the 10-day at the fiat slave mine anymore. Maybe I do the 9-day or the 8-day option, because I do have those options available to me. Maybe it is, well, I've already decided I'm going to take 12 months with the little fam bam in and around Australia at the end of the year. 6 months of that.
Is that official?
definitely happening. 6
Yeah,
months of it's
epic.
going to be me not working, and then the other 6 months will be me working on the road, which I've got some options. But do you know what I mean? Like that's what my mentality starts to shift now around my purchasing power. So I don't have to hustle and earn the X amount of dollars that I do in fiat terms now if, we do experience a 5X or something. So it's my mentality towards stack and sats. It's going to shift. It'll probably be towards not stacking as much and then leveraging off that purchasing power and just knowing that shit's sorted. So the fiat that I do
Can I
earn.
just ask you practically? So let's say you're going to take your 6-month trip, and dude, I've got an idea that we're working on. We're working on a dreamy idea. It's not that different to yours, but I'm wondering now, are you going to have to sell a little bit of Bitcoin and at this like same time continue earning, or are you just going to go, hey, we're going to scale back our lifestyle big time. We're going to try and hack a cost-effective lifestyle, and then yeah, I'm not going to stack for like a year, but that's okay. Like I don't
Correct.
care. Yeah,
That's
okay.
that's more the shift, right?
Yeah,
and it's
right.
easier said than done, mind you, but that's going to mean hustling on the road. So I will still be working. I'm taking 6 months off, but I will be, doing gigs and earning. But my intent will be not to sell sats at all.
Are you going to leave the miners on, mate, when you go?
Yeah, mate.
Yeah.
On your power bill.
Yeah.
I'll include it in the I'll rent this place out that I'm living in now, and I'll just say I'll keep the shed going, keep the miners on in the shed, and then just not tell the people tendency that they're paying for the electricity bill. Why is that bill so high? It must be due to the hot water system.
Can I interest you in sellyourhomeforbitcoin.com?
What's your take, Cats? What do you reckon?
So I was going to just come in and say I'm never selling, but that's a sort of, if you had like some sort of a like family emergency or medical emergency or that kind of thing where you had to liquidate your Bitcoin to be well, that you do that. Definitely. There's nothing more important. So so we can all say that we're never selling, but you should sell if you had to. But that said, if I can avoid that, and if I'm, hopefully those things don't happen to any of us, I think spending is the way. So I'll still be an accumulator in a sense that I'll still be buying Bitcoin on my DCA, but I'll start to spend more. And yeah, as I said, Brenda's just shouting out Bitcoin Company or Fold or Lolly or Satsback or whoever you want to choose. Use it, do it cleverly. Get some sats back for what you're going to do. You can already do it for, your supermarket bill or your, what did you use? JB Hi-Fi or whatever. Hi-Fi, so let's say your income is, pick a number, X thousand a month, and you can stack into Bitcoin, and then you watch the price go up, and then you sell, you spend a little bit, and you pay for your Kohl's voucher or something. That's the way to do it. It's a bit of a pain in the ass. But if you're
it's not that hard though.
It's really not, it's not difficult. It's not difficult, but it's it's like another thing. It's like the UTXO thing. It's like okay, I just need to learn how to do this, and once I know how to do it, that just becomes my default way of doing. So and also, I mean, for all that I'm saying, Kohl's and JB Hi-Fi, what I also would love to see is people start to spend with other Bitcoiners. So because there is no like. If Daz is offering something that I'm willing to buy, Daz is just as good as hodler as I am. What are you offering, Dad? I don't know what you're willing to buy.
But the head wobbles a bit insane.
I'll sell anything for sats.
Yeah, well, there you go, right? So
another domain right there.
Yeah, I'll sell it. Yeah. Well, you just totally throw me. Like, so if he's offering something and I want that something, then if I buy it from Daz, he hodls just as good as I hodl. So that those sats are never coming back on the market if he can avoid it as well, right? So that's why if you can, start to spend a little bit, and then if you can beyond that, can start to spend a bit with Bitcoiners. That's the goal there, because that then creates the circular economy that we all say we want to live in, right?
It's also nice to help people accumulate KYC free Bitcoin, and you're getting something in return. Like totally. I've got a when I talk about a supplier, I've got a honey supplier here in Brizzy. He caters to the Warburton's honey needs, and I go like nobody's business. And every time we have a meetup, I'm just like, it's not even about the price. I don't care. I like your honey, bro. You know what I mean? And it started making me thinking, like, what should I start bringing to meetups? A bit of biltong or something. Okay, I want to sort of finish off on on bullish notes, because we got 2023 coming. And yeah, it might be actually quite fun to revisit kind of what 24 holds in a year's time when you're all a little older, grayer. Maybe we'll be happier in some ways. What are we expecting from this next sort of like 12 months? Everyone has their own take. I think I'll give you mine. I've been putting this out there recently. Like I just say the top is likely to be about 130-ish. And the reason why I'm saying that is like partially just so that I can sleep better at night, so that I don't get all emotional like I did in the beginning, when I first got involved, and I was like lying on the floor quite literally dreaming about what a genius I was. So I'm kind of just like holding myself back. I really want to be wrong, but I've seen everything from sort of like,
what's the emotions gonna do to you though if it's like high six figures and you've been mentally prepping yourself for this bearish fucking 130? Wash your mouth out.
I'll probably start walking into the office just like uber arrogant.
I think you need me to hold your keys for you because you're gonna blow your lollies here, I reckon.
Oh boy. No, but no, I've still got I've got a plan long term. It's just that I just felt deeply scarred by the last one. Like it just kicked me in the ass initially. And it's partially because I did all the things wrong. Took leverage. I stuck it on, I borrowed against Bitcoin to buy more Bitcoin, like amateur hour, Lynn Alden didn't tell me to do that.
But it's tuition fees, man.
My tuition fees were harsh though. It was a very harsh lesson. And I was like, I'm kind of scarred. So I'm like, and I had everything sort of mapped out and I thought, geez, this looks so good. I've just come in at the right time. And this is just plain sailing, boys. And then you just have to go through hell. And then you kind of go, well, now's the time to learn. And like, actually, I'm a really good bear market dude. Like, I'm just great. I'm relaxed. And I just think for the future. But when I start seeing those green candles, I become a bit of a cokehead, basically. And I get so fucking excited. I don't know what to do with myself. And I just walk around. I literally walk around listening to Pump It Up. Guys, pump it up.
Pump it up.
Telling your boss to go fuck himself every day at the smoko table. Go fuck yourself. I don't need you.
You were for me now.
Have you seen that? There's that
I'm
meme
the captain now.
There's the meme where it's like Kermit the Frog or something, and it's like the boss goes, "Why are you late?" And Kermit's like, "You watch your mouth."
I think for the record, your take's bearish. I think we see at least my bearish case is 250k Australian
next year, mate.
Yeah, early. And then I think there's that much lining up. No Bitcoiner here, no Bitcoin I speak to, I think is quite prepared for the face melting fucking rip we're about to experience. I honestly do.
Yeah, I agree with that.
No, there is that much in the stars. Like there's that much lining up at the moment.
Yeah.
That I honestly don't see a scenario where we don't hit $1 million Bitcoin.
Next year?
Then the next cycle. Within the next cycle. So probably end of next year into 2025.
But then here's my kind of what's the analogy? Pushback.
We've been here too long.
Yeah, thanks. Government intervention, right? So if it goes to $1 million, well, what happens there with government? Like the US government, they're gonna shit themselves.
Not necessarily.
Or get on board.
Yeah, I don't think any government shits themselves. Like, I think it's an inevitability. I think governments will just keep doing what they do. They know they can't regulate. They know they can't do anything. All they can do is hope to get institutions aligned with it to make most normies custody it so that they can use it for their purposes.
If we get to, I'm trying to do some, so I'll probably fuck this up, but we're probably, you're talking a sort of 20x. So that really takes us into the value of gold only.
Exactly. And it's not much.
And they don't really care about gold.
And it doesn't need that. And that doesn't need that much inflow either to really shift that needle. Like it doesn't need the $20 trillion to flow in to realize that gain. It only needs a couple of billion, like a couple of tens of billion into hundreds of billion to really shift that needle.
So that pod you were talking about earlier with Marty and Freddy Krueger. Yeah. That guy's a shitcoiner. I don't care what anybody says. But what he did say was ETF, there's global ETF market is $10 trillion.
Well, that's gold, isn't it now?
it's roughly, gold's a little bit more than that, but yeah, in that ballpark, right? So 1% is $100 billion, right? Now, as Andy keeps reminding me, price is determined at the margins, right? So if $100 billion came into Bitcoin, like, it wouldn't just put the market cap up by $100 billion.
Absolutely not. It's exponential.
Absolutely. So the price would go mental. So I think if anybody is, just mentally prepare yourself for a 10x and not be surprised if it goes 40.
Oh,
right.
Sorry for the hard on, boys.
I don't think it was a hard on. I think you nutted.
Unfortunately, I do also think, I don't think we should be in a cycle, but I think we will be in a cycle. I think we'll collapse again. So, but again, I'm not taking Bitcoin off the table. I might spend some again, but if you're mentally prepared for that, and not just mentally prepared for that, if you're, your security, more importantly, is if your security is prepared for that, like, have a think about what that means to you. Like, if you've currently sitting, well, it doesn't matter. Think of your number. Think of the people listening. Think of your number of Bitcoin, of sats, and think of if it does a 10 or a 20 or a 30x, how comfortable are you with what you're currently, how you're currently looking after your Bitcoin? And if you're really not comfortable, work out something else.
TheBitcoinAdvisor.com.
Yeah.
Hey.
But no, I think like absolutely is a good solution, but I think people need to think of it in pots, right? Think of your absolute long-term cold storage. I'm never touching this. This is for my children. That's one pot. Think of your transactional Bitcoin that you may wish to spend at some point, in the future years. That's pot 2. And then over here is your fun. Let's spend some Bitcoin on Lightning or Liquid or whatever you're going to do. And if you can think of your Bitcoin in those 3 pots and secure them all appropriately for you, that's probably as good as you're going to do. And you're going to have a heart attack like the rest of us, right? Where none of us are prepared for that God candle. You just have to
keep thinking it's going to be a morning, like a wake up thing. And you know what? Because I'm a morning guy, I'm going to see it before you, and I'm going to love that.
Oh, yeah, you will, yeah.
I'll message you going, hats.
Like, I'm not going to get an alert at 4 o'clock in the morning, wake up and comment.
Yeah.
It's going to be impossible to be completely humble, especially if that happens. It'll be crazy. And we're going to have to go to some sort of training or tuition around humility, just because it's going to become a real problem. Because
education camp perhaps. It's like a re-education camp.
Literally, because it's going to just, I really think it's going to fuck with my mind. Like, it's going to turn me into, that's what I say, like a raging cokehead, like walking around like, come on, bring it on, boy. Oh, your audience, look at me. Yeah.
John Vallis, about how long ago was this? This is probably before the first Bitcoin. What's the Miami conference called? Bitcoin Miami.
Yeah, that's it.
That was called.
That shit kind of conference they have over there.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. But before, I think the first one, somebody did a like a DJ set for the 100,000 party, and it's on John Vallis's original pod. It's probably 3 years old or something now. If you really want to walk around your kitchen nude, giving it the big man, that's what you should listen to. It's wonderful. It's wonderful, Dale. You should get that.
There we go. I certainly will. Oh boy. Okay, this has been fun. So there'll be some Christmas music as part of the intro, just as an FYI to you boys. So we'll get in the spirit. I hope you fellas have a stunning break and you get to enjoy it with the family, and you can have lots of steak and brisket and God knows what else you have. Low calorie beverages, whatever it might be. That's what I'm gonna be doing. I'm gonna try and not get fat. That's my objective these holidays.
I've got no advice for you there, Dale.
I'm trying. I'm actually sad that I'm not going to be spending Christmas with hats. We kind of do everything together these days.
Yeah. We're not spending Christmas. We're doing New Year.
New Year we are, yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. All right.
What are you doing for Christmas? Oh no, let's talk about that off pod.
Oh yeah. too much doxy.
Yeah.
Any parting words from any of you wise elves? Osama bin Laden at the bottom. What do you have to say?
I'm at the top on mine, so I don't know what you're fucking talking about. But
Osama bin Santa.
Nah, look, Merry Christmas, boys. Controversial take to finish up. Alcohol's a shit coin. Merry Christmas.
I say because you're right.
Because he's right.
No.
He's
He is right.
So
it's a psyop. It really is a psyop.
You're like an ex-smoker, mate. You're like an ex-smoker.
They make the rules.
Yeah.
But they are the rules, and they are right.
Yeah.
That's a real downer to finish on.
Yeah, fuck you, Jazz.
Yeah.
And did you want another drink?
Look, I'm going to drink this Christmas. So there you go. I'm going to partake in some shit coin.
Fancy that.
Fancy that.
I couldn't let the father-in-law sit through another lonely Christmas without someone to drink beer with. So I'm gonna crack a beer with him.
What I'll say is to everyone who's followed me on this little podcasting journey, to the listeners who have gotten through to the end of this pod, thanks for everything. It's been a fucking epic ride. Absolutely pumped, loving it. I'm going to go take my Aussie dollars and leverage a strong currency and take advantage of a weak rand and produce better content in 24. Let's fucking go.
Love you, man.
All right,
appreciate your work, man. See you, boys.
I'll keep smashing it, bud.
Thanks, boys. Take care, man. Have a great Christmas.
Love you, boys.
Peace. Thanks for listening to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the conversation and that you got some value out of it. Either way, hit me up on Twitter and let me know what you think. My handle is Dale21M. If you've got any suggestions as to people you think I should be talking to or topics I should address too, I would love that sort of feedback. Otherwise, if you want to support the show, there's a couple different ways you can do that. The first is just to share it amongst your friends and family. The more that people hear the message that Bitcoin and crypto are not the same thing, the better. And I want to help people understand that. The second thing you can do is give me a 5-star review on whichever podcast app you're using. Of course, that's only if I deserve it. And last but not least, if you want to stream sats my way via the Fountain app, I'm not going to say no, but it's not expected. Thank you so much for your support thus far. It means the world to me. I appreciate the hell out of you, and the best is yet to come. Much love, friends. I'll see you on the other side.